Welcome to where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views, they are amazing.
It's a 13 It's a 13 It's a 13 It's the 13 It's a 13 It's the 13 It's a 13 It's the 13
And we are back here on the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I am your host. They call me Coach K, and behind my back, they may call me some other things, but who cares what they say? Today, I'm here with Three the Hard Way. Faison, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Excited to come back and share some new info on my wonderful children. They have officially made it to the member status. My boys officially are gold members of Six Flags. They got their official BIM. So the boys, and you can see it's there. There you go. The gold is flashing. There you go, right there. Boom. So they are officially members. They have their pictures taken, and they are riding rides like pros. So my boys are taking from me, and I'm very proud. Very proud when they told me they wanted to go in a log flume. It was a big ride. They took it like champs. You know, I was like, my dudes.
That's that's awesome, man. That you have that bonding moment with your child. My bonding moment with my son usually comes in the form of smart comments. And I'll go ahead and share one. So the other day we were going somewhere, and Wendy said, he said, "Hey, mommy, can you sit in the back with me?" And she was just like, "Nope, I got to tell daddy something." And he was like, "But I want to tell you something." So she was like, "No, I'm going to sit up front. I'm going to talk to daddy, blah, blah, blah." And this man says, "Well, if you sit in the back, your mouth will still work."
My dude.
This might get in trouble.
He just spit facts.
Dude, I just had to turn my head because I wanted to laugh so hard because I was just like, did he just really say that? Like, wow.
The darndest things.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's just amazing how we have different bonding moments, but that's great. I really hope that he doesn't get to the goal standard of smart remarks, but let me go to somebody whose kids are so respectful and just, BJ, what's going on, sir?
I'm back in this nigga like we never left, man. Yo, the funniest thing though, as they get older and as you listen to the things that come out their mouth, I've had like the last month, I've had to walk out of the room several times. Not that they're not being disrespectful. It's just like they just think of it and say it, which I appreciate. But mommy doesn't really appreciate it most of the time, so that's why I gotta leave the room. So
yeah, man. It's it's interesting. It's just interesting, man. And when I think of the fact that he's 4, I'm just like, what are you gonna be saying when you're like 10?
Yes, understand. It only goes downhill.
Oh, geez.
But it's funny because they say something like that, and then you go to try to reason with them on what they said, and you can tell that just goes right over their head. It's just like, they said the most profound thing, but they really have no clue.
Right. Truly repeating words that they have.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's all I can say. Fresh, what's happening?
Man, you know what it is. Got my main brain representation. It was a great Wake Fest was amazing. I mean, we shut it down. It was just insanity. Nothing but great times, man. You know how we do.
So last podcast, man, we never got back to it. But I remembered for this episode, you supposed to be having a pretty big gig. DJ
Wake Fest.
Oh,
yes.
So it went good.
It was fantastic. It was down in Wynwood. Wakefest is for J. Wakefield Brewery. That is such a complex word when you really have to say it out loud. It's fine to read, but when you got to tell somebody, yo, I'm going to the brewery, you always like, there's a lot you got to think of going into that word. But anyways, it is like a meeting of a bunch of different breweries around the country that all come to Wakefest and showcase their different beers. Main Brain Music, myself and DJ Sage, we soundtrack that whole thing. Magic moments only.
Shout out to Sage.
Man, did you get clearance with Cranium for that logo, man?
Man, we don't need no clearance. We got clefs, bass clefs, bass.
Okay. Listen, man, I just want to keep, keep it easy. It's all in the family, so. All right, well, good, man. Hey, so for those of you joining, maybe you didn't listen to the podcast last week. We did talk about DMX, which we're not going to talk about this week. I'm sure you might be DMX'd out, but we did drop a little nugget at the end there talking about environment. And that's where I wanted to take the conversation today. And to a degree, I'm going to use our personal experiences when we talk about environment. But I want everybody to pay attention, because I think everybody's starting to catch on, when you talk about environment and exposure, and to some degree, people are using it as a marketing tool, right? A lot more people are starting to hear about oh man, the word just left me, man. Mastermind groups and things like that. And the whole thing behind it is, creating the environment and exposing it to you. And I think there's something there. There's something to it, right? Like we look at when we leave from certain environments that we're in, we surround ourselves with other people, and you always hear the thing, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and blase. But fellas, when you hear that, like what do you get out of that direction, as far as you have to watch the environment that you're in, or make sure that you get into an environment that's going to help you grow? Like, what message are you guys hearing?
With me, it's always centered around energies. Like, that's the way I always am looking at it, is being mindful of the energy that you are around and the energy that you're intaking. I think that we are not initially as aware and apparent of energy, and not and we don't use that thought process enough of understanding that if we can get some positive energy around us, and how that matriculates into other things. Just the ability to have most of my conversations be with dudes like y'all, as opposed to a bunch of DMXs, it definitely would change the path of how I develop the things that I decide to do. And it's kind of that. I look at it in an energy space.
I think for me, it's that whole thing about your circle and who you're with just reminds me of each part of my life and what I enjoyed at each part. It wasn't a get away from. It was for me, it's looking back and seeing how I enjoyed that. You go forward and you look and you see now, like, your circle is like, you guys are my circle, but then my circle outside of everyone here is different. And it's not because I just wanted it to be, just because I kept growing or moving or relocating or whatever it may be. But I feel like those circles that were left also brought so much enjoyment. And it wasn't a negative thing. Yes, they were going different paths, but their paths taught me just as well as I was teaching them. So it wasn't a pull down, it was more of an engagement or understanding their views of things. So, and that helped me grow to who I am now. And looking back at those, it's still important, because those people are still important to me to this day.
Right.
Yeah, that's the kind of point I'm at. Yeah, it's the attitudes and energy that are around you. But over the years, it's almost like those environments, toxic, bad, whatever you want to label it, also help mold and shape people to become who they are, right? And realize that they need to change the people around them, or change the setting or change the job because something in there lets you know, goes off, sets off the alarm that something's not right about this. So, and then how do I respond to it? I think a lot of it though is that we don't have the coping mechanisms as a whole of in that negative environment. How can I still thrive? How can I use what I learned there to still mature? It's almost like you're growing a tree or shrub. You have to prune sometimes, right? And the pruning is getting away those pieces that are not good for you to grow, or cutting back some so you have the room and the energy, the food, the flow, whatever. I'm thinking, I'm drawing a blank as I'm drawing that one, but it flows to the right space.
So the tree can get more nutrients and it can expand.
Right. So you have to prune some things away in your life. And that doesn't always mean, in all circumstances, cut everything out. But when something is being toxic and is bringing you down mentally, physically, is draining you out, that's when that environment needs to be researched and figure out, okay, what do I need in order to thrive now? I'm thankful for any toxic environment I've ever been because of the lessons I've learned and taking them on. Similar to what Art was saying, like side conversation that's in that same direction. I have this conversation with parents all the time. Me and Gina have it all the time. When you try to create too many correct environments for your kids, that's why we have a series of kids now who don't know how to cope in the world. Mm-hmm. It's more of a detriment to them in the long run. Not letting them do stuff or keeping them in the house, not doing it. Like it can go. I had this conversation many times over the last couple of weeks. So that's why it's just drawing parallels right now. It's fresh in my head. But like as parents, we can't control all the environments. If I got a quick example, like I had to say something to, and I know my mom listened to this, but my mom and Gina's mom, when Mason we told him a couple weeks ago that Mason was going to start back to school, the biggest thing was about, I'm worried about environments. I'm worried about bullies. I'm worried about this stuff. But I'm like, I'm worried about those things. And I don't ever want to put my son or anybody in a position where they may get hurt but how many of us learned how to deal with people by the interaction we saw from a bully in school, or from either you were the bully or you got bullied, or you stood up for somebody who was getting bullied? Like those make and break who you are as a person and how you cope and how you deal with things. Now, again, I never want anybody to suffer in that situation, but how you handle people, interact with people, something, a lot of that is dictated by the experiences, the bad experience that we're in. Long story. Sorry.
Well, I think we've created a society that doesn't understand how to deal with loss and with not getting what you want right now. And that's the biggest thing, is when you are in, it is something that's happening not through, a direct desire to do it, but when you are allowing, the TV or the internet or whatever else to just kind of, babysit your child instead of doing other things, or, giving them that ability to do other stuff, interacting with kids, then that is creating that, when they can run up to you and whatever they say they want right now, you like a zombie, just go and get it or let them have it and don't care. Like all of those things, that's what they're learning. That's what they understand. And so when they're 5, 10, 15 years old and they don't understand, like, yo, I'm not going to get no job. What do you mean? I want to do something that is right now.
Right. But see, you hit on something, right? And we put it on the level of kids, but I think we do the same thing as adults. Right. So I'll continue with the kid analogy, but then I'll transfer it to adults. So we move to locations intentionally sometimes because of what a school can provide, or what we see a score is for how they're teaching these kids. And we think just by moving there, well, that was the blueprint. My child's going to be successful. Right? Just because we moved there and they now go to this school. Meanwhile, no, there's still things that you need to do as a parent in that particular example in order for the child to be supported and for the child to progress the way that some of these other scholarly kids that came out of said school, right? But I think as adults, we're now doing the same thing when we go And we might join a mastermind, or we might join a particular group. And we think that because I have now joined this, I'm going to get the same level of success that's coming out of that group. And this is where I'm going to bring it to us, right? So I can't remember how many years ago it is now, 4, 5, maybe, I don't know. I was the first one that started following Eric Thomas, and then that led us down the road of Art. Don't zone out on us, Art. Right. And then I started doing things, and I said, man, I want to expose the fellas to this environment and what's happening. Right. And I can tell you, I think at that time I went into it, oh, we're about to get the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're about to find out exactly what we need to do, what steps we need to take. And I think now I realize that was the wrong mentality. And there's a lot of things that we actually got out of that time. And if you think of it, it's funny that this is the group that I'm on with, because this is the group that I was telling everybody, hey, I want to take you and expose you to this. Like, come on. Mm-hmm. Right. Art, you went with me, I think, from some of the first stuff.
Yep.
Then I got Ian and BJ when we went to the thing in Miami. Then, like, take it away from that. Ian and I go out to San Diego for somebody else's totally different event, right? Brendan Burchard, right? And we get exposed to that. And we're like, oh, man, we got the blueprint. Man, I'm going to sign up for this program. I'm going to get this stuff, blah, 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 blah. That's it. We're going to make it. We're going to be on stage. We're going to be doing these big things, right? And really, the reality was that, no, we need to put in the same amount of grind that these folks put in to get there. This might just get us a shortcut, but there's things that we picked up along the way, right? And if you guys think about it, I remember us having a conversation like while this stuff was going on, and we were like, hey, man, like, all right, everybody, like, let's have a real candid moment here. How much money do we all make? And everybody put it out on the table. Hey, this is what I make. Boom. All right. We need to improve this. In the last 3 years, and even the pandemic, I don't know if you guys realize how much we have all moved. Like, even the guys that aren't on the podcast anymore,
mm-hmm.
how much they have all moved their income.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Fact.
And I don't think anybody was paying attention to the fact that, man, we just got a little bit of exposure to this environment. And we saw, and he says it all the time, Ian Fresh says, man, we could do what these cats do. And I think that's the thing that we really got out of exposure to the environment, was that we realized, hey, these things that we see people doing, they're not as difficult as we think. And we started trying to make moves, and we don't realize that's the learning that we're really getting from being in the environments, and things are moving. And I thought about that. I said, man, I got to bring this to the fellas and see what their take on this is, because like, it just hit me like an epiphany, like, oh, snap.
It's the motivation though. It's the, I tell you guys, it's the constant process of doing. Like, there is no true shortcuts. We still are going to have to put in them 10,000 hours. We've whittled away at a lot of them, but it is the epiphany of going to see Eric Thomas and not feeling like, it was like the world went from this down to this once we got there, because it was like, well, wait a minute, it's not, oh, but they're not as, oh, but it doesn't have as much. And it's like, there's nothing to take away from Eric Thomas, because he is a passion. Like, it doesn't matter what he talks about. He's passionate, and you feel, and he oozes it. It doesn't matter what he does. He's going to be successful as that, because he has that in him, but he's been able to continuously refine it and get it to where he has a team that he doesn't have to worry about just one other person, you know, because he has a team doing it. And I can just go out there and speak my heart out, and you guys will clear the smoke. And, but being able to see and understand, we don't have the huge team, but we still got to see, know, and start to understand those processes. And in seeing that stuff, just like you said, it kicked all of us in the ass in the motivation of everything, in the sense of just being better people, period, and looking to provide more value in our lives to anybody that we touch. And that's what was the motivating factor throughout all of this. And I mean, it's just the simple fact that we continue to do this. We don't see no monetary benefit from this. We don't, you know what I mean? I think we all feel the life benefit of it, even if it's just the being able to caucus with and fellowship with each other. We see and feel how that changes what we do. We know the difference of before we started the podcast to now, and like how we felt about, you know, our group of friends and what was going on versus how we feel now, and the things that happened back then, the things that happened, you know what I mean? The conversations we're having inside of, you know, chat groups now. Everything has changed and evolved, but it's when you can start to it's like I always talk about the internet. When you have that gift and the curse of the sense, like the internet's gift is that it makes the world seem so tangible and so right there that, like, wait a minute, people on the other side of this earth enjoy and do the same things that I do and do it, you know what I mean? Like, that's the beauty of it, but we have to continue that motivation, growing more.
Yeah, there's definitely a consistency piece there. That we know that, look, that's the struggle, right? Is that consistency piece. But again, I just feel like I think for a good number of people, and that's why, you know, you hear these guys always say, oh man, we putting this stuff out there, man, half of y'all ain't even gonna do anything with it. It's because once you get there, yeah, they give you some stuff, but then they also tell you about the work. And I think that's when people come to oh man, these people talking about this environment stuff, man. I didn't spend this money to come in here and do this, man. And you need to leave me like steps 1 through 10, right? And a lot of times you got steps 1 through 10. It's just that you got to realize the work you got to put in between numbers 1 and 2, and 2 to 3,
and how much stuff needs to get rinsed and repeated and refined, and it's like right now, I do a lot of work with Pat at Blank Canvas Cooking. I have him literally pretty much sends me pictures every day. I don't post probably 99.9% of the stuff that he sends me, but I have him in the continuous motion of send me pictures, send me videos, because I'm refining his ability to be able to post, and his ability to once preparation meets opportunity, like, he's on the spot, but he's going to be able to give him a show. He's going to be able to be himself and go ahead and put everything out there, but also doing it in a way that, you know, displays what we need to display, hits on the points that we need to hit on. But it's only through, we've been doing this for over a year now, and it's that constant motion of doing it. But that's what it takes. And until you turn around and can look and say, wow, we're almost 200 episodes into this thing. And you really think like, man, it's been like 3-4 years we've been doing this. And then you really start to think like, where were all of us living back then? What were we like? Think about all of that. Like, seriously, it's like, wow. But then at the same time, you can look at it and it's like, it feels like the blink of an eye. It don't feel like it was 3 years. No. Like when I really sit down and think about like, dang, 200, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot. Like, think about it. And it's like, but I don't feel like it was nothing but like last year before. But then you start again, like Carol was saying, you think of all the other hosts that we've had on the show, and you think of all the other people that we've touched and things that we've done, that is just like, wow, wait a minute. This is crazy.
It's funny because you said don't lose yourself when it comes to ET. And again, I was totally fine. I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the show of it. I knew there was more, and when I saw the path that had been taken, I knew that it wasn't whole. It wasn't a complete story, and it was being worked on. And that's where I was kind of like, okay, I don't like being strung along as you're building. Like, if you have a plan of action, like, if I'm building the plan with you, I'm okay. But if you're telling me here is the plan, and then you're like, but hold on, let me add more pieces to it, or okay, that's where I was frustrated.
But see, that to me was the most motivating piece of everything, was the fact that, like, on initial view, we thought that these were like this was the next Tony Robbins. He was the black Tony Robbins, and that this guy had everything together, and this had to be the most, just like Carol said, we thought, yo, Carol signing up, we are, yo, man, I'm calling checking out yachts and mansions, like, yo, we are there, yo, it is about to go down finally. And then
so funny. That's really funny because I had a complete opposite experience. I was there in the room.
I'm saying initially before, I'm talking about before going. I'm saying before going. I'm saying when we first knew about ET and didn't attend anything, just the vision of him seeing the hip hop and learning about it. It was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. Yes. It's like, yo, this guy has to be like the next guru. But then that's what I'm saying is once we had that opportunity to go there, and I saw like, wait a minute. This guy does the cards under his hand. He's got it behind his back. But it was motivating to me because I was like, wait a minute, these guys are no different than us.
But hold on, because I want to clear up some stuff before we lose some listeners. Oh man, we listen to the Secret Six podcast. Those guys are great, man. You guys they're to them. They are awesome.
Yeah.
What was and what is the important part of that, right? And this is where some of us bow out and never get to what it was we're trying to accomplish. They didn't have everything figured out, but they had enough confidence in themselves that they would figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That was what was motivating.
That's the thing that was motivating.
Go out and regardless, yo, man, who cares? Like regardless of anything, everybody is not going to like us and everybody's not going to want us. So we can go and make money and refine ourselves in the beauty of watching them create their team. And to me, Toby and
amazing.
However you say his name, I'm sorry, but I think that man is amazing. But on top of that, it was more amazing to me to watch him come through their camp and then to see him apply the things that they told you about, doing life coaching, and he applied those things to music and to see his progression, what he's done, where he's come to where Dave Chappelle just called him out on stage, doing something the other week that it's beautiful and it's just motivating to me because again, it was coming into that room and thinking I was about to, in a sense, meeting Michael Jackson status, star, and I was going to have things just moving and it was just going to be like, yo,
listen,
look at the show.
I remember like them saying, oh yeah, our guy Toby, blah, 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 blah. We got this artist, whatever. He just come out and perform and then you just sitting there right there talking with him. He's just like, oh, okay, cool. This guy, Toby, we are right, whatever. Yeah. Art went to something and
EJ and I interacted with him. Chill out with his wife. Exchanged everything. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then, next thing you know, oh, there's Toby. And I remember Wendy, oh, you got to hear this song. And she plays it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Toby. She's like, oh, you know about this guy? I was like, yeah, I met this guy, chopped it up with him. Like, right. And again, it's just the environment that you're in and you're watching somebody that applies the principles.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big things that we get into this environment thinking that we're just going to get the overnight, okay, bam, I'm about to get the secret. I'm behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And then you get behind the scenes and realize these people don't really have a whole lot more than you other than belief in what they can do and just a ridiculous work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
And I don't want anyone to misconstrue the respect that I have for his skill sets. That entire team's skill sets is complete amazing.
Oh, which is ETA, period. And look, we talked about Toby, but there's a couple other people that
amazing. And when you go
come through that camp,
millionaires,
yeah. But I mean, it's like the going there for which one to go for. I'm going there for motivation and to move forward and look at life, and that move. That's what I would enjoy it for. I had a concern with the direction that they were teaching and how it was being taught versus what it was. But again, you had to pull what you need to pull for you in order to make that work for you.
Yeah.
And that's not what I was looking for. So it didn't fit into my puzzle at the time.
And look, there's the things that they said they wanted to do and what would happen if you continue to just come into that environment and trust the process. The people that did it, oh, they're doing stuff, right? They're doing.
People that did it. But it's also, it's again, though, going back to the look, it's community. It's like, it's not what they do is not some new, amazing technique that they've, just, it's an ancient technique. It's community. They're right. Intelligent enough and smart enough to say, hey, they started their movement in just the sense of, hey, we want to have a focus on helping people empower themselves. Yep. But no matter what, if you start to create a community around that, as you're empowering people, they want to stay around them, because you've empowered them. It's no different than religion, a cult, you know what I mean? In the sense that it's that same, once I feel that energy and you've given me the ability to kind of come outside of myself, I'm going to resonate to you, and it's going to naturally matriculate into, just like we saw being a part of the group, hey, there's this real estate dude who is amazing, and like nobody even knew or understood. And he was able to get out stuff that like were gems that nobody would have ever known or heard about. But it was only through that he was able to do that. But then with that energy, it matriculated, we need land for this, or we need that for this. Okay, then talk to him, and next thing you know, everybody's making money.
Yeah. So, look, we all respect to those guys. Hats off.
Yes.
The bigger part of this, right, was not necessarily our exposure to them, but there are so many people out there right now that are trying to find the right environment. Like, how do I find the right environment? How do I find the people? That part is probably a lot easier than you think. That part is sitting in Google. Right. And you can find your environment, right? The internet has made it infinitely easier. It doesn't just have to be the people in your neighborhood. It could be somebody in a totally different city. I think one of the things
city, state,
and the pandemic has taught is that
in a world with the internet, it doesn't matter.
The world. You could have somebody in a totally different country that you don't even really know, and you can be in their environment.
Yep.
But the one thing that's going to remain true is that you cannot depend. I don't care if they are right next door. They can't do the work for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to do the work, right? Getting into the right environment that's just step one. There's many more steps after that. So don't think that because I joined this mastermind group, or I joined this fraternity, sorority, I joined this social club, or this community, whatever group. That doesn't mean that you're going to get what those people are doing or what those people are known for.
True. Facts.
Period. So what you really want to do is lay out your plan, right? Okay, this is one step. I'm going to find the right environment. What is it you're really seeking to get out of the environment? And what are you willing to do? Go ahead, BJ. You got something. I see it brewing.
Yeah, because I think this goes back to, and I don't remember which episode it was, it goes back to your revelation of the conversation we're having about mentors and mentorship like that, right? And I think part of the problem is that people get in an environment and think everything they're looking for is going to be resolved with that group, right? It may be that if it's a mastermind, if it's a think tank, whatever we're going to call it, right? That you may have to pull pieces from several different things. And I can even think, like, just thinking around the conversation we've had, there's been things this group has done, but there's been things individually like that, Kara, you've done with other either people. You got pulled nuggets from managers at work, Art, same thing, with circles of friends, things on this side that we pull from different places. Like when you put all your eggs in that one basket, I think that's when people get frustrated and get when they don't meet their expectations, right? So it's almost like that, looking for that mentor. Or Carrie, and I don't want to misquote it, but it's almost like I was looking for this one person to tell me all these different things or show me these different things. No, you need to look for those identify. You need to identify what it is you want to look for and who can provide that one thing. Now, if they can add one or two more things to the plate, great. But if you can get that one thing from this CEO, this one thing from this manager, this one thing from this finance person, that's what you need to make your individual grow. And it goes back to I'm gonna screw it up. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? So when I take all these little pieces together and put it all together, that's when I have my own mastermind. I can create my own magic and make that stuff happen because I'm taking the pieces that made, again, the whole situation with ET and this thing. I walked away from there like, yo, the systems, y'all know my thought process. Like, this needs to be in a booklet. This needs to be in a workshop. People need to be outlined. Like, and these are little things in my head, like logistically, like that's what I took away from the processes. The content was great, but process, what do we need to bring? Oh, how many times we talk about getting the workbook together, okay? We just got to finish the process.
Yep.
Like that's just something we need to do when we're working on that, things like that. These are little things that you pull from individual places. One environment is not going to solve everything for you. And I think that's the hope that I'm going to join this one group and it's going to be the savior to it all. Well, for maybe that one or two people, it may do something. But for the vast majority of people, that's not going to be the case.
Agreed. Stop looking for a community of accomplishment. Look for a community of execution.
And the part is also, you don't have to look to who can you pull in to support you. You don't have to go always look to join a group. Like, look around you. Who are the people that support you day in, day out? If you're an entrepreneur that is going to give you that advice, whatever. You may have people around you you're just overlooking. They can add value to it and make a mutual relationship with stuff. So,
you're talking to them about the wrong things.
Pretty much. Like, I realized in our personal group, I realized I'm really not tapping into the financial advice that Omar brings to the table.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and that's over the last couple of weeks, just listening to the conversation. I'm like, why am I worried about talking to somebody about here about investment? Why am I not just making time with this man and sitting down and talking to him about it? Like, that's me. I need to personally set up time and do that.
Well, listen, I live down the street from him.
Facts.
Message.
So Omar, them calls are coming. So
yeah, he listens to the podcast.
Does listen. So
hey man, we about to set up a standing Sunday meeting.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Well, fellas, look, man, I appreciate y'all going down that road with me. And I just thought to myself, I was like, wow, like, because I started trying to think about the way that this originated. I was thinking about the growth of all the people that's been on this podcast, the people that are still on it. And I was like, man, you know what? You know how many cities, if we start talking about cities we've lived in, granted, I've got most of them, but how many accomplishments in the time that we've been doing the podcast and that we've been going to events and going to different things and just exposing ourselves to different ways of thinking and different ways of pushing ourselves. We've made progress in the last probably 3 years that some people probably don't make in a lifetime.
I would say collectively, just thinking about the income piece, we've probably increased income over $100,000.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. Of the group, and I'm thinking everybody. If you include everybody, I'll probably say 150 to 200,000 is still probably a minimum. Just being,
and that's in 3 years. It might be 4, maybe.
Yeah, and that's spread out over the group. That's not just like one person. So
yeah, that's not one person. So if you a family relative or somebody don't call ask none of us.
Not yet.
Don't call us to ask for anything. That's just a joke. But anyway, what I would say is, yes, please. If you listen to this and you didn't get anything out of it, go back to the beginning and start all over again because there was so many nuggets dropped. This was a nugget rich episode. and there's much to be learned there, and much to be put into action. So look, if you're looking for a community, you need an environment where we can keep pushing. And look, we're not experts in everything, but we got a whole lot of knowledge and a lot of things that some people don't have, or we have the environment to go get it, to go find it out for you. And if you're stuck or you need something to get off of a plateau, drop it in the comments, reach out to us on our IG, 13th Floor Please on IG, or we just 13th Floor on IG. 13th Floor Please. Somebody.
13th Floor Please.
13th Floor Please on IG. You can hit us on our YouTube page. You can hit us on Facebook. There's so many different places to get to us, or whatever platform you listen to right now. Just drop it in the comment section or the reviews, and we'll get back to you. We promise you, we diligently look out for comments and reviews and everything, and we respond. So shout out to our regulars that every week you can depend on them listening and dropping comments and stuff. We appreciate it. Jay, I forgot to say it on the last one. That's fine. You don't got to come hang out with me because I ain't getting the COVID shot. I'm gonna come find you, and there won't be anything you can do about it when I show up on your doorstep. So listen, we're gonna close this one out, fellas. We're gonna let them get away without the our regular closing, unless somebody has something that's burning.
I got to give them this preservation if we out here.
Give them that preservation, man.
I just want to tell the people, allow yourself to be surrounded with the things, people, and places that make you feel good. Stay on that wavelength. Don't be overbearing with it, but do that. Allow yourself that permission in luxury.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you for listening once again. Don't just let it sit on your ears. Let it sit on a friend's ears as well, and then you all talk about it, because the message is going to hit everybody a little bit differently. There might be something that your friend will catch that you didn't catch, but you all can talk about it. We appreciate you being here on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best. Fresh is yawning, but the views are amazing.
Amazing.